Yeah, hello and welcome to another update video about Polygon MATIC. Also a real rally here after our last video, which was on the 1st of Feb. I think we were just coming down here on the 1st of February and we had a first indication that a lasting top was in place. But here very interesting to see. We talked in the last video about that as long as the chart holds above the 50% retracement here at $1.06, $1.07, that a further extension in the fifth wave is very likely. And that's exactly what we saw. We came back again. I just, love to see this, how these prices adhere so well to these fib levels if you know how to set them. This touched 3 times the 50% retracement and then really rallied from down there in a massive increase. I mean, from $1.05, basically $1.06, all the way up to now $1.28. So yeah, if you watched the last video, you were prepared. Because while there was a first signal that the top was in place, it was only in 3 waves. And I also mentioned to you that I hadn't seen enough yet to confirm it. So yeah, good to be focusing on the trend here then in the short term. Long term, the trend is of course still down. Yeah, looking at the basically if we looked at the daily chart, the trend is of course still down, but we are getting into interesting regions now. And if we break above the B wave high, then we're making a higher high. Now, this is now critical. Yeah, this is now critical. So we're going to take about the different wave count options in a minute. Before we do that, I wanted to emphasize to you that 130 is that important high from, I think it was November. And this 130 level is going to be important resistance. Now, we are moving towards that level. It looks like MATIC wants to test it. And we are now, however, in an ascending wedge. Now, yeah, that can break for a brief period to the upside, but this is typically what you would consider a bearish wave pattern. And you can count it as an ending diagonal. Yeah, if we have an extension here in the wave 5, we had a wave 1, we had a wave 2, a wave 3 of 4, and a 5 of 5. I would not be surprised if this very shortly breaks down from here. Yeah, I mean, in the last video we talked about, again, further extensions possible and likely, but now we are getting to a point where, I mean, this thing rallied off the January low, now 75%. Yeah, and a lot of coins, I think, are getting to the point where we are going to see a deeper pullback. The profit taking will start soon. I mean, you see on various time frames now the bearish divergence is appearing also here on the daily chart, which doesn't mean it has to come down now, but it means we're getting close. Yeah, lower highs on the RSI very clearly and higher highs on the price chart. Yeah, so that's what I'm observing here. Obviously, trend short term still up. No sign it has stopped yet. Yeah, we need to be very careful with that. But I believe if you have a trend line like this, and it's quite a well-defined one, if we break this to the downside, it indicates, or it would indicate that a top has been made. And then we have a very interesting setup possibly. It's still a bit of a mystery to me, the chart. I mean, there are counts possible, yes, but if it really has bottomed, yeah, then this is a very weird structure. So therefore, for me, it would still look better to make eventually that lower low that we talked about. But for now, I cannot maintain this particular count. So the idea was here that we obviously peaked in a wave 1 that was back in August. We came down in an A wave, moved up in a B wave, and we're now coming down in a C wave. And the C wave consists of a 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5. Now, it's now, that wave 2 has just moved too high to be reliable, which doesn't mean that the overall count has to change, yeah, because the higher level assumption doesn't change at all. For me, this would still look better with one more low, to be honest. And the count would simply require a very simple change. And all I need to do here to maintain the bearish stance, and not saying bearish stance really, but it would just look better with another low. Now again, I always encourage you not to trade my expectation because I don't have a crystal ball, but I can only tell you what are the most likely scenarios and structures. I encourage you to trade the supports, the resistances, the pivot points, yeah, not necessarily the count, because there can be 2 or 3 counts. How do you know which one is going to work out, right? So there are always, I give you 2 or 3 likely possibilities and you can choose to trade the key pivot points that we talk about. So here, what I'm telling you is that while the short-term trend was clearly still up, there are some issues with this structure here, and I would just like to see here one more low. That would be ideal. You know, it doesn't need to happen, of course. That's why I formulated for you anyway. This support area, if we come down here, is a possible long trade area. Going to talk about that in a minute because that has to move up now. But yeah, in the overall count hasn't really changed. You know, we talk about wave 1 peaked here. We had an A wave down, a B wave up, and a C wave down. B waves can do funny things, you know that. And the B wave itself, I consider as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. Quite clear, isn't it? So, yeah, and that would indicate that we have still a high risk of breaking down. So that's the bearish, let's call it bearish case, but actually it's not bearish because even in this scenario, we'd probably hold a higher low. And it's one of the few coins where I would be quite confident to say that the June low was the bear market low. Yeah, but I've never changed that view anyway. So from that point of view, that's sort of the, let's call it short-term bearish count. Now, the bullish count would actually be that we actually finished this wave 2 here, and that we are now moving up in an impulse in a wave 1. Now, that means we can trade a wave 2 support area long when we come into it, because this is a pivot point. Yeah, it's a decision point. That's what I mean about not trading the count, which a lot of people think should be done, and it's not the right way to trade Elliott waves. You trade the pivot points, the decision points, the invalidation points. So here we will have key support in that region based between 86.3 cents and $1.01, $1.02, which consequently means that if we get into this area, it might make sense to start to scale in carefully to trade a possible wave 3. Of course, this level will move should we push a little bit higher, higher, higher. As you can see, the FIBs will also move. So that will be the next possible trade setup. Of course, you could trade a short if you can attempt a short if you want to the downside here into the region, you know, when we break the trend line, but that's up to you, of course. So yeah, that's my update about MATIC. Hopefully you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.